Bore da pawb, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Mae chydig bach ar ôl 10 o gloch.
It's a little after 10
We'll
o'clock,
a little bit afterwards, felly nawn ni gychwyn ar pethau
so
fel ma'
we'll
start.
commence.
Nia, dwi rheolwr cefnogi
I'm
busnes
Nia.
Gwynedd
I'm
Gwynedd.
the
Nia, the
Business Support Program Manager
Council.
at Gwynedd Council.
If anybody needs the interpretation facility, if you click on the bottom of your screen, there's a globe icon with interpretation written underneath it. So click on that and then click on English. And you should
And hopefully you'll be able to hear my voice,
coming through.
the
Just give
translator.
you a couple of seconds to sort that out if you need to.
And hopefully you'll be able to hear my voice if you're listening to the translation.
Great, felly.
Great.
Croeso cynnes i chi gyd
So a
yn
very
bore 'ma
warm
i
welcome
drafod
to you all
cefnogaeth
this morning
gweithwyr.
to
Mae'n
discuss
pwnc
the
amlwg o ddiddordeb i
employees'
busnesau fel
ownership.
hyn.
It's obviously a
Neges
subject
wedi
that's
bod yn
of
derbyn gan busnesau
importance
lleol
to
ac yn y pawb dwi'n
businesses.
meddwl bod o'n
This is a
bwysig
message we've
cynnal
received from
y
local
bore 'ma.
businesses, and this is
Fe'n
the
digwydd
reason
bore
for
'ma
holding
mi
this
fydd
webinar.
Mike
What will
Williams
happening
o
this
Cwmpas
morning?
yn
Mike
arwain y
Williams
sesiwn.
from
Cwmpas ydy'r cwmpas
Cwmpas will be leading the session. They are the company who specialize in this field, so they are the people you need to speak to if you're interested in this field. If possible, if you have a question, please put it in the chat, and we'll look at it at the end if there are any questions, rather than as we go through the slides. I think that's all I have. It is a subject which is of great interest to us in Gwynedd, specifically because we have the first county of employee ownership in Wales, and that is because there has been so much activity in the field over the last few years in the county, so you're in good company if you're considering following this model in Gwynedd, with a number of other businesses who've done the same. So with those few words, I will ask Mike to take the lead. Thank you, Mike. So, if you want to sell your business, or if you're keen to grow the business and reward and retain staff, employee ownership is an innovative option with proven commercial benefits. That's been proven over the years for tens and hundreds throughout Wales of different companies in every sector. By transferring ownership to your employees, you can enjoy the highest value of your business and improve the performance of the business. And this is important to ensure that your legacy continues far into the future. And that is important. And it's one of the points which is most difficult to let go for business ownerships who might have created the business and who have certainly grown it over a number of years. The legacy or the succession is very important, and this is something that people are afraid that might be lost, especially by selling on the market to someone from outside. What is it? What is employee ownership? It is employee-owned businesses that are totally or significantly owned by their employees. And through the definition of the Employee Ownership Association, the national body, you can call a company an employee ownership company if 25% or more of the property is owned by employees. Most of the employees involved. In reality, I haven't come across a company where so few of the shares are in the name of the employees as 25%. Usually the percentage is 100% or is very high.
Ac yng Nghymru, mae'n
And
bwysig i
in
nodi,
Wales, it's
ma' 'na
important to note
fwy a
that
mwy
there are
o
more and
gwmnïau
more
yn mynd i lawr y
companies
ffordd
who
yma.
go down
Mi
this
gaethon
road.
ni yng Nghwmpas
We in Cwmpas
dasg gan y
were
Llywodraeth
given a
Gymraeg
task
ryw
by the Welsh
2 blynedd
government
yn ôl,
about 3 years ago,
bedair bosib i
perhaps 4,
ddwblu y
to
rhifa yng Nghymru
double the
o
numbers in
ddifewn
Wales
cyfnod. Hynny yw,
within
o
5
ddifewn
years,
oes y Senedd
namely within
presennol.
the
A
life of the
mae rhaid
current
i mi ddweud, mi wnaethon ni
Senedd.
gwblhau
I
y
must say
dasg
we
yna
did complete that task
hefo 2 blynedd i
with
fynd,
2
a
years
mae'r
to go,
rhifa
and
dal
the
yn cynyddu,
numbers are
dal
still
yn tyfu.
increasing, they're still growing.
A be mae hynna'n ddangos ydy
What that shows is
pan da ni'n cael y
when
cyfle,
we have the
a mae hyn
opportunity,
yng Ngwynedd
and
ac yn
this is in
bwysig iawn fel
Gwynedd
ddwedais
and
i
is
yn
very
y
important,
cychwyn,
as I mentioned at the
drwy help a
start,
cymorth
through the help and the
Cyngor
support
Gwynedd
from
a'r
Gwynedd
tîm sy'n cefnogi
Council and the
busnesau
team
oddi
which
fewn y
supports
sir.
the team within the
Pan da ni'n cael y
county,
cyfle
when we
i
get the
rannu
opportunity to
gwybodaeth
share
am berchnogaeth
information
gweithwyr
about employee
ac
ownership and to
i roi y neges ar draws. Mae yna
convey the
lawer iawn o bobl
message,
siawn
there are many
ddim yn
people
ymwybodol
who
o'r
aren't
model hon
aware
fel
of this model
dewis olyniaeth.
as a choice
Ond pan da
for
ni'n cael y cyfle
succession.
wneud hynna,
But when we get the opportunity
mae
to
o'n
do
lwyddiannus
so,
iawn.
it is very
Mae
successful.
lot o
There
bethau
are
gwych
many
iawn y
things
model
within
sydd yn
the
apelio
model which appeal
i
to
berchnogion busnes,
business
yn
owners,
arbennig yng Nghymru,
especially
yn
in Wales.
arbenigol bosib yn y
Again,
gornel fechan
perhaps
lle da
in
ni.
this small corner of Wales where we are.
Mater o etifeddiaeth yn
It's a
bwysig iawn
a
fel o'n i'n
matter of
sôn.
succession or legacy is very important, as
A
I
hefyd
mentioned, and
ffordd
also
o
a way
edrych ar
of
ôl
looking
y
after
tîm,
the
y gweithwyr sydd
team,
wedi
the
helpu
workers who have
tyfu'r
assisted
busnes
to grow
ac
the
iddo fo
business
i lle
and
mae o
bring it to where it
funud.
is at the
Da chi'n
moment.
gweld
You can see
y ffigur yma,
the figures here,
y graff,
the
mae'n
graph.
amlygu y ffaith
It undermines,
bod rhifa wedi
stresses the
tyfu'n
fact that the
aruthrol
numbers have
yn
grown
ystod
considerably
y ganrif
during
yma yn sicr.
this century.
Yn ôl yn 2003,
Back in
dim ond
2003,
cwmni
only
trwy
7
Gymru.
companies,
Ac
there were only 7 companies owned by
termau
employees in Wales, and although the figures aren't huge
absolute, ond
in absolute
ar y
terms,
funud da ni
but
ar
at the
90.
moment we
A
are
mae dal
on
yn cynyddu,
90.
mae yna
That's still
sawl
an
cwmni da ni'n
increase.
gweithio
There are
efo
several companies which we work
sydd
with
ar ei ffordd
who
ar y
are on
gwaith.
their way on that
A
journey,
os
as you can see
fysa
from the graph now on
dim
slide
ond
12.
10 o bobl yn
Only
gweithio
if there are only 10 people
i bob
working
cwmni
for
sydd
every
yn mynd i lawr y
company
ffordd yma,
which go down
da ni'n
this
sôn
road,
felly am bron
we
i
then
1,000
talking
o
about
swyddi
nearly 1,000
fysa wedi
jobs,
bod mewn
which
perygl
would be
gyda
in danger
gwerthiant allanol.
with
A mae'r
if it
ffiguri
was
yna
sold
yn
externally,
saff
and
ac
those
yn
jobs are
cynyddu
safe and are
oherwydd
increasing
y cam
because
sydd wedi cael
of
ei gymeryd
the
i
step that
lawr
has been
fel
taken
cwmni perchnogaeth
to
gweithwyr.
be an employee
Rwan,
ownership company.
ychydig enwa fyddwch chi'n
Just a
gyfarwydd â,
few names you might
rhain
be
trwy
aware
un
of.
o'r rhai fwyaf
Um,
enwog
these are some of the
yn y wlad.
most
Unipat, fyddwch chi'n
well-known in
gyfarwydd
Wales.
Arab, possibly,
Unipat, Arab,
Goep,
possibly,
possibly,
Goep,
a
possibly,
Rhyfedd John
and
Lewis yn
River
sicr
Forge,
fyddwch chi
John
wedi
Lewis,
clywed amdano
certainly
fo.
you've heard about them,
Adman
and
Animations,
Adman
Wallace and
Animations,
Gromit,
Wallace and
Shaun
Gromit,
the Sheep ac yn
and
ymlaen
Shaun
ac
the
ati.
Sheep, etc.
Felly mae yna gwmnïau
So there are
mawr
large
yn dilyn y
companies
ffordd yma
which
hefyd.
are
Dio ddim
following
yn rhywbeth
this
i
path.
gwmnïau,
It's
tu
not
esti
something for
gwmnïau bach
just for
a
small
cynnoedd.
companies and medium
Ond wrth gwrs,
companies.
yma yng Nghymru,
But
mae
of
rhan
course,
fwyaf
here in
o'r
Wales,
gwmnïau,
most
mae'r rhai o'r
of the
busnesau sydd gennym ni
companies,
yng Nghymru
or most of the
yn rhy
businesses we
bach, yn rhy
have in
cynnar,
Wales are small or
a mae'r
medium
sector
companies,
yna'n bwysig
and that
iawn.
sector is
Yng
very
Nghymru,
important. In
um,
Wales,
dwi'n gobeithio bod chi'n gweld
I hope that you can
y sleid
see
yma.
this slide.
Mae allan o'r 90,
Out of the 90
da ni jyst wedi rhoi ryw fras
We've
ddewis
just given you
enwau
a rough
bellach yn cwmnïau
choice of the names, which are now
perchnogaeth
companies,
gweithwyr.
which are employee
Yn
in
lleol, mae
employee
gynnon ni
ownership
Dafydd Hardy,
locally.
mae
We
gynnon
have
ni
David Hardy,
Cwmni Da,
we
mae
have
gynnon ni Big
Cwmni Da,
Innovation, Aber
Big
Instruments
Innovation,
reit
Aber
agos,
Instruments,
ac un y ddau
which
yr
are quite
eraill yna.
close, and one or two
Mae
others as
enwau
well.
da a
There
cryf
are good and strong names
wedi cymeryd y daith
which
yma.
have taken on
Ac os ydych
this
chi siarad hefo
path, and
unrhyw
if
un
you
ohonyn
talk
nhw,
with any of them,
dwi'm yn credu bod yna
I don't
un
believe
ohonyn
that
nhw
none of
yn
them
difaru ar y
um,
ffordd hyn. Y patrwm arferol yw bod
are sorry that
y
they've gone down
gweithwyr
this road.
efo
The usual
balchgar yn eu
pattern
cwmni
is that the
yn
workers
falch o
are
gael
proud of their
fod yn
company. They
rhan
are pleased to
o'r
be
tîm
part of
perchnogaeth.
the ownership
A mae
team, and
cwmnïau yn
the
tyfu
companies
ac yn datblygu
grow
ac yn
and
symud
develop
ymlaen
and
yn
move
gryf.
forward strongly.
Mae hwn yn bwysig.
This is important.
Busnesau bach a chanolig fel o'n i'n
Small
dweud,
and medium-sized businesses,
99% o
as I
fusnesau yng
say,
Nghymru.
they are
A
99%
maent
of
yn
the business
gyfrifol
in
am
Wales, and they are
62% o'r
responsible for
swyddi yn y
62%
sector
of the jobs
preifat yng
in the
Nghymru.
private sector in Wales.
Ac wrth gwrs mae
And
perchnogaeth
of
teuluol
course,
yn
family
chwarae rhan
ownership plays
pwysig
a
yn hyn.
prominent role in this.
Mae un o bob 5
One in every 5
busnes bach a
SME
chanolig,
businesses,
maen nhw'n wynebu
they face
penderfyniadau
decisions in
o
terms
ran cau y
of
busnes
closing
neu
the business
cynllunio
or
rhyw fath
planning
o drefniant
succession
olyniad
arrangements
yn ystod y 5 mlynedd
during the
nesaf.
next 5 years.
A mae hynna
And that
yn
is
ffigwr sylweddol.
a substantial figure.
43% o'r
43%
cwmnïau
of
yma
these
heb unrhyw
companies
gynllun
do
olyniad.
not have any
A mae hwnna'n
succession
ffigwr
plan
eitha
in place.
difrifol.
And that is quite a
Gan
serious
gofio,
figure, bearing in
dim
mind
ond 12%
that only
sy'n ffigwr
12% of,
reit isel cwmnïau
which is
teuluol
quite a low figure, of
sydd
family
ar gael
companies,
oddi fewn y teulu i fewn i'r
which
trydydd genhedlaeth. Felly,
manage to attract the
i'r
third generation into the
mwyafrif
company.
mawr,
So for the vast
mae'n bwysig
majority,
cael
it's
cynllun
important to
olyniad.
have a
Mae'n bwysig
succession
edrych ymlaen i weld beth
plan. And it's
yw'r
important to
opsiynau.
look forward to see what the options are. And of course, employee ownership is a very strong option and important option for anyone in such a situation. Part of our work, large part of our work really, is to share information and the message about employee ownership as an option. It's not a panacea, it's not one size fits all. But as we've seen and as I've mentioned, many of the employee ownership at the moment, which aren't aware of this, have shown a great interest when the message has been shared. But sharing the message is the problem. That is a challenge to try and get to everyone, especially, apologies for that, when people are so busy running a business from day to day, it is very difficult for them to step back and look at the business with external eyes, as it were, to see the strategic situation and take strategic decisions. 29% of businesses have been in the ownership of the same owners or owner for over 21 years. This means that 15,000 business owners could be considering leaving their businesses to retire or move on to something else. Once more, that is a large number, and the situation is serious. And with the help of everyone, we can hopefully move things forward for the benefits of the businesses, but more importantly, of course, for the team who are working within that business and ensure a working future for more and more people in Wales. Planning a succession, you cannot start too early. There's nothing like being too early to start considering a strategy for planning a succession. It depends on the structure of the business. You should ensure that you discuss and share information with the management team or with the family. It's important to enable a management team to demonstrate independence from the founders, and what that means is quite often when someone talks with us as a business owner, they have already started to step back, and the management team are ready. Quite often they can run the business from day to day, or they do so already. But that isn't true for everyone. If the owner wants to step away or wants to step down, if no one is ready to take over as part of the plans, perhaps this might they might be able to must work on this already, or the other option would bring someone new in as a chief officer. But of course, by bringing in someone from outside into the company, that's an additional salary to pay, of course. So it works for some, it doesn't work for everyone, but you need to consider options in plenty of time and create this succession plan. That's what's important. Of course, you'll also have to plan important matters such as tax structuring the company, engage with accountants and professional workers. Solicitors, etc. And it's also important to identify the value drivers. What is important for the ethos of the company? Again, when you sell on the open market, you don't know who will come in to buy a company. Quite often, there might be not much choice, unless you might be very lucky. There might be 2 or 3 trying to buy the company. By keeping the company in the hands of the employees, the value will continue as it is. And if that value is important to the owner, and it is more often than not, that is another reason to consider this as an option. Yes, you will need to organize things beforehand, in advance, and you will need to discuss and assess options such as finance, etc. So when you leave the business, when an owner leaves, there are several options open. Family ownership, you can pass it on to members of family if that's suitable. Possibly, you could just close the business and sell the assets. But of course, jobs might be in danger then, and a responsible owner wouldn't choose to do that because of the wish for the future of the business to be strong, and of course
i gefnogi y
to
gweithwyr sydd 'di
support
helpu
the
i'r
workers who have
i lle mae o ar y
helped the
funud.
business to grow to where it is at the
Opsiwn arall
moment.
pryniant
Another
gan
option
rheolwr,
is management
rheolwyr neu pryniant gan rheolwyr
buyout
cwmni
or
allanol.
buy-in by
Yn Saesneg management
external
buyout neu
company.
buy-in. Opsiwn arall
Management
ydy gwneud
buyout or
dim.
buy-in in English. Another option is do nothing.
Peidiwch â wneud dim.
Don't do
Dyna'r
that.
opsiwn gweithio.
That's the worst option of
Mae'n
all.
bosib gwerthu'r cwmni
You
ar
can
ragor,
sell the company
fel
on the
dwi'n sôn,
market,
ac wrth gwrs,
as I mentioned,
bosib fynd i lawr
and of course you can go
ffordd da ni'n
down
drafod bore
the
yma,
route
sef
we are talking
perchnogaeth
about
gweithwyr.
today, employee ownership.
Pan perchnogaeth gweithwyr, mae yna dri
There
prif
are under
ffordd ymlaen.
employee ownership, there are three ways
uniongyrchol,
forward. Direct employee
perchnogaeth
ownership,
anuniongyrchol,
non-direct ownership by
neu
employees,
model
or a
cyfunol, sef hybrid.
combined or hybrid
Mi rai
model.
ymlaen i drafod
I will
rywun
go on
fach
to
am bob un o
discuss
hynna.
each one of those.
Perchnogaeth gweithwyr uniongyrchol i ddechrau.
Direct employee ownership,
Hwn
firstly.
oedd y fodel
This was the
fwya
model,
poblogaidd i fyny
the most
at
popular
2014
model up to
pan nath y gyfraith
2014
newid.
when the law
A
changed.
mae o dal yn fodel
And it's
sydd
still
ar gael
a
heddiw.
model which is available today,
Lle mae gweithwyr yn dod o
where
berchnogaeth o
workers
fanaliadau unigol yn eu
become the
cwmni.
owners, or
Lle
the
mae hynny
employees
wrth
become the
gwrs
owners of
wedi
individual
bod
shares. What that
gweithwyr
means
i gyd
is that all the
yn prynu
workers
cyfranoliadau
buy
yn y
shares
cwmni.
in the company,
Os oes 'na rywun yn
and if
ymuno â'r cwmni,
someone
mi fydd
joins the
fydd yn
company,
cynnig
they
y
will have to buy
cyfranoliadau. Os oes 'na
shares,
rywun yn gadael,
and when someone
mae rhaid
leaves,
gwerthu nhw nôl.
they have to sell their shares back.
Mae'n gweithio'n iawn y
It
dymuniad
works
i
well, and the wish, of
bod
course,
y
is that
cyfranoliadau hyn werth
these
mwy
shares
pan
will
mae rywun yn gadael ac yn
be
gwerthu
worth more
nag
when
oedd
someone
nhw
leaves and sells them
gaethon nhw eu
than they
prynu.
were when they
Ond
were
mae
bought.
'na
But
ambell i her
there are a few
yn
challenges,
arbennig yr un ariannol
especially
o
financially,
allu fforddio
being
prynu'r
able to
cyfranoliadau.
afford to buy
Pawb yn y
shares.
sefyllfa yma
Everyone
felly
isn't in that
sydd ddim yn
situation.
mewn sefyllfa
Everyone
i
isn't in
fenthyg arian
situation to
i brynu cyfranoliadau.
be able to
Felly mae
borrow
hwnna'n
money to
dod yn her.
buy shares. So that can be a challenge.
Ond tos dim rhaid prynu bob tro.
But you don't always have to buy shares.
Mae 'na bosibilrwydd weithio
There is a
o
possibility
gael
sometimes
cyfranoliadau am
of
ddim,
getting shares for free,
yn aml yn glwm
often
i reolau
attached
neu
to
cynllun
regulations or a
posibiliad y
performance
busnes a cynllun bonus
management of the scheme
mewnol y
and
busnes.
an internal bonus
Neu
scheme
hefyd, wrth gwrs, mae 'na
for the
llai
business.
cynllun
Or
HMRC
there is also a
sydd yn
HMRC
cynnau
scheme
cyfranoliadau.
through shares
Lle mae
options,
rhywun yn
where
opsiwn
one has the
dewis
option,
i
the
brynu
choice that is to
pa mor
buy
fforddiadwy
when
pa
they
mor
they are affordable, or where there's a specific criteria met.
Symud ymlaen i
Moving
perchnogaeth
on to
gweithwyr a
non-direct
uniongyrchol,
ownership by
indirect
employees,
employee ownership.
indirect.
Heddiw, hwn ydy'r
Today, this is the most
o
popular
bell
model
ffordd.
from a far
A mi ddoth
distance.
hyn
And this came
o'r newid
from
gyfreithiol
the
yn
change in
2014,
the act that we mentioned in
sefydliad
2014,
papur
based on a paper written by a lad called Graham Nuttall 2 years earlier. We know Graham very well. He's a guru in this field in Britain. And what
y gyfraith
the change in the law allowed was to create an additional body,
sef ymddiriedolaeth
the
perchennog perchennog yn gweithwyr,
Employees Ownership
EOT yn
Trust
Saesneg,
model,
Employee Ownership Trust,
Employee Ownership
i
Trust
ddal y
in English,
cyfranoliadau ar ran y
for the shares to be
gweithwyr i gyd.
kept jointly on behalf of all the employees. So what
yr un
that
holiad
does, it gives the
i
same
bob un
rights to
gweithwyr
every
heb yr her
employee
o prynu
without the challenge of
cyfranogau
having to buy
nhw eu
shares
hunan
in their name,
ar her ariannol.
individual names, and the
Wrth gwrs.
financial
A hefyd,
challenge I've already mentioned, and of course,
pawb yn gorfod
without
prynu ar
the
gwerthu cyfranogau pan maen nhw'n ymuno neu gadael y busnes.
trouble of having to sell or buy shares when they
Felly,
join or
yn
leave
y
a
model
business.
yma, fysa
So with this model,
ymddiriedolaeth
the
yn cael ei creu,
trust will be
mae'r
created,
ymddiriedolaeth wedyn yn prynu
and then the trust would buy
cyfranogau gan y
the
perchennog
shares from
presennol
the
y
current
perchennog
owner
ac yn ei
or the current
lladdru
owners,
ar
and they would
y
keep
pwysig i
them
gyd.
on behalf
A
of all
wedyn,
the employees. And then
hybrid.
we have the hybrid model.
Cymysged o'r ddau yn amlwg.
This is a
Ma'r
mix of
enw
both,
yn
as the
awgrymu.
name suggests.
Creu
Creates
yr ymddiriedolaeth. A mae
the
rhaid i
trust,
ymddiriedolaeth
and the
brynu
trust has to
o'r
buy
lleiaf
at
51%
least
o
51%
cyfranoliadau.
of the
A
shares.
rheswm am hyn, wrth
And the
gwrs,
reason for
ydi,
this, of course, is that
fel bod yr ymddiriedolaeth ar
the
ran
trust on
gweithwyr
behalf of the
yn
workers
berchenog ar y
is the
mwyafrif
owner
o'r
of the most
cyfranoliadau.
of the shares, the majority of the shares.
Majority shareholding.
So majority shareholding.
A mae hyn yn golygu
And
wedyn
that then
hyd yn
means
oed ar 51%
even on 51%,
gweithwyr trwy'r
the employees through this body
sydd hefo'r
would
llais olaf
have the last
ysgrifennu
voice with any
pwysig.
important decisions.
Ond hefo'r hybrid,
But with the hybrid,
ymddiriedolaeth
the
ddim yn
trust
prynu
wouldn't
cyfranoliadau i gyd.
buy all the shares,
Fysa
but
mae'n bosib wedyn i
it is then possible for individuals, usually senior officers within the company, to buy
yn ei enw ei hunan.
some in their own name, some of the shares in their own name.
Wedyn, symud ymlaen
And moving on to
chydig o ffeithiau
a
sylfaenol
few
am
basic facts
y model perchnogaeth
about
gweithwyr.
the employee ownership
Mae'n model sy'n
model.
cael ei alw yn
It is a model which
busnes
is
fel arfer.
called
Hynny
a
yw,
business as usual
os
model.
dach chi'n gwerthu busnes fel
Namely, if you
arfer,
sell a
ma' 'na
business on
ansicrwydd,
the market, there is
a hynny'n
uncertainty,
effeithio ar y
and that
busnes,
affects the
mae'n effeithio
business, it
perfformiad
affects
pawb
the
oddi fewn y
performance of
busnes.
everyone within the business.
Dach chi ddim yn gwybod pwy sydd
You don't
yn dod
know
i fewn
who
i'n
will
bryniau,
come in to buy
dach
the
chi'n gwybod
business,
be
and you
fydd
don't know what will
eu
be
modelau nhw,
their
eu ethos
model
nhw,
and their
ac yn
ethos.
bwysig ofnadwy,
And very
fysa neb yn
importantly,
gwybod
no one
faint o
knows
swyddi
how
fydd mewn
much
perygl.
jobs will be in
Oherwydd yn
danger,
sicr
because
fydd
certainly
y perchennog newydd
the
yn
new
barod
owner
i weithio oddi fewn
will
yr un.
be already working within the same sector.
Efo perchnogaeth
So
gweithwyr,
with employee ownership,
troes dim o hynna'n digwydd.
none of that
Dyna pam
happens.
mae gael ei alw yn
That's why
model
it's called
busnes
business as usual
Mae'r
model.
cwmni dal i gael ei redag
The
gan y
company
board
will
a'r tîm
still be run
cyhoeddus
by
sydd
its
yn
board
rhai
and
wedi
management
bod
team. There'll be no
yna,
change there,
oherwydd be dwi'n newydd
because what I've just said,
llawer mwy
it is a
flexible i'r
friendlier
perchennog.
sale for the owner.
Mi fydd yr
The
gweithwyr
employees,
felly hefo mwy o
therefore,
reolaeth
will have
am
greater control and say
penderfyniadau pwysig
over future
yn y
involvement
dyfodol.
and important decisions.
Mae'n fanteision
There are
i'r
tax
cyn
benefits
gostio'n
for
a
former
hefyd
owners and employees
oddi fewn y model
within the
Fyddai'n dwtsio ar hynna
employee
bach
ownership
mwy yn
trust
munud.
model. I'll touch more about that in a minute.
Wrth gymryd y cam yma,
By
ma'
taking
angen
on this
sicrhau
step, you
cwmni
ensure that the company
yn bodoli
always
cario ymlaen
exists It carries on for the benefit of the employees, both present and future employees.
Y profiad yw a
And the experience and the evidence shows that everyone has great pride in the new model, performance of individuals and of the company
bron yn sicr am
will nearly certainly strengthen and improve. And of course, that supports this sentence, namely ensuring that the company always exists for the benefit of employees, both present and future. It is a flexible model, as we've mentioned. The hybrid model version stresses the point, well, family members or senior managers can take advantage of this if that is the model that is desired by all. All the workers are beneficiaries of the trust as an indirect shareholder, but do not have to personally find the funds to buy shares. I have touched on that point already, but it's important to undermine or to stress that there is an importance. There's no pressure to buy shares in your own name. With that model, there's a profit-sharing scheme. It's possible if the performance of the business allows, if the business board agree, and if it is affordable, it is possible to create a scheme of profit sharing, a bonus scheme. And these payments, these tax-free bonus up to £3,600 per annum for every employee, they are tax-free. No income tax, of course. Of course, you don't have to pay that figure only if it's affordable. It's possible to pay any sum, less or more, but if you pay more, it's only the first £3,600 is tax-free. Also, it's very important the workers have a voice in any major decisions, and this happens in a small company. Everyone talks naturally together from day to day. There's a possibility that you wouldn't need a formal body to represent the employees. If the company is larger, then perhaps you might need to have this in place, and that's great. It ensures that the voice of every one of the employees is heard directly or through a more formal body which talks with the board. So a say in any major decision, such as sale of the company, anytime in the future, if that happens, or major investment decisions, or business relocation, or consider how suitable the office is, etc. Not minor routine matters, but major decisions. As the majority shareholder, this gives the employees the right to have their voice heard. to have their say.
It
It gives an opportunity once more for employees to participate in the governance of the business at different levels. Quite often, someone will be appointed to sit on the board or represent the employees in a more formal way. And there's an opportunity there to operate on behalf of the rest of the team. And also, if this is something that will happen in the future, the right is there to participate in winding up the company in a solvent manner. Solvent winding up, as it's called. I haven't seen this as yet. Every company I worked with, they are continuing and they are pressing forward strongly. But there is a possibility there. And I hope that you can see this slide, how the selling to the trust work quite quickly. The company is the blue circle, and then the employees are on the sellers are on the left-hand side, and the trust buy the shares from the sellers, and they hold them on behalf of all the employees. The question that comes up quite often is, how does the trust, as a new body, how can they pay to buy shares? Quite often, there will be a fund or reserves in English, which isn't used from day to day in the running of the business. That can be transferred by the company to the trust to buy the shares. If that doesn't sufficient, and quite often it isn't, then it's possible to borrow to complete the process, or there might be an agreement with the sellers to pay for over a period of time, say 3 or 4 years. But that is dependent on the performance of the business and how affordable will be. And of course, that is an incentive for the employees to ensure that everything happens correctly, and quite often they'll be available to answer any questions or share any experiences if they need to ensure the future of the company. After that, we come to how things work from day to day. This is quite simple, really. The company carries on as usual with the board of directors, the management teams, and the employees. The trust has a board of trustees, and we suggest that there should be at least 3 members on that board, including one representing the employees and one external independent member. And if need be, if the company isn't a small one, you could have some sort of employee representation or council to ensure that they have their say, their voices heard. So, what can we do in Cwmpas to help?
Da ni yn rhannu gwybodaeth.
We
Da
share
ni,
information.
siarad hefo
We talk
erchygyn
with
busnes.
business owners.
Da ni siarad hefo
We talk with
tîm rheolwyr.
the
Wnawn ni siarad hefo
management team.
y gweithwyr
We
i
will
gyd.
talk with all the
I
employees
sicrhau
to
bod
ensure
pawb yn
that
cael
everyone
cyfle
has an
i ddeall y
opportunity to
fodau
understand the
mewn ffordd
model
sydd yn glir
in a
iddyn
way
nhw.
that is clear to them.
A mae hyn yn bwysig.
And this is
Mae'n
important.
bwysig bod pawb
It's
yn
important that
tynnu mewn i
everyone
gyfeiriad.
is
Saith o'r ffordd, wrth gwrs.
pulling in the same direction, and that makes the
Ond wrth gwrs, mi fyddwn ni
things
hefyd,
easier, of course. And we will
yn gallu
also
helpu hefo,
be able to help with
ar y cwmni,
the value of the company, having value for the company. We'll talk with an accountant who specializes in this and solicitors as well. And we will take the owner and the company through every step required to complete the process.
Os da chi'n gweld hwn
If you see
yn
this,
bras iawn,
quite briefly, evaluate the company,
staff ar bwrdd,
um,
cyngor ar faterion treth, prisio, datblygu arweinyddiaeth,
engage with staff and members, advice on tax matters, valuation, develop leadership, advice on the structure of the deal, and continuous advice.
A dyma ni.
And here we are,
Gweithio gyda uwchreolwr,
working with senior managers,
arbenigol,
contact specialists, external accountants and solicitors,
ac yn ymlaen fel
etc. And as I've suggested, we will
trwy bob darn o'r broses
take everyone through every part of the process required to ensure that things are done in the correct manner and in a way that everyone is comfortable with. And then we have one or two examples just to share with you. Big innovation. I hope that you can see this on the screen. Unfortunately, as I say, I'm unable to share my screen for reasons I don't understand. Very nice and kind words from Bic, to be fair. I'll give you a second just to read that. Employee ownership has helped us create a culture of collaboration and contribution. It has helped us to recruit and retain top talent in the marketplace, being employee owned is a meaning and point of difference. The next one is from Melin Gwint. Thank you for listening, and thank you also for putting up with the difficulties at the start. I hope that everything have worked well at your end. We now must ask you if you could please fill in the feedback form. It's in the chat, and the work that we do, of course, is funded, and it's important that we ask the questions to get fair answers, to share this and ensure that the message we put out is appreciated. So if I can pass back to Nia or Tesni. Okay, great. Thank you, Mike. That was very interesting. I've certainly learned a great deal this morning. Tesni has put a link to the feedback form in the chat. I can't see any specific questions in the chat. Put them in the chat if you want. There's still time. Otherwise, Mike, I take it that they can contact you directly. Yes, you're very welcome to do so. What we'll do after this morning, we'll distribute the slides, and we'll also distribute how to contact you directly in Cwmpas. But just to say also, there will be a drop-in session held in Canolfan Helmblas in Bala on the 11th of April. And Mike will be there. And there's also an opportunity for you to book a slot to speak directly with Mike if you want that. Tesney has put the link to book a place in the chat. If you're interested, a question has just arrived, Mike, namely, how long does the process take?
Yeah, well.
Yes, well, there's no specific answer. It's not a quick process, and in my view, it shouldn't be a quick process. It's important that everyone has an opportunity to come and understand the model to ensure that any question raised by the owners, by the managers, by the team as a whole, that those questions can be asked and raised and answered fully. It's important that as many people as possible within any business, that they are totally comfortable and that they understand what's happening. Because there is a tendency for people to panic a little and think, oh, I've never run a business before. What do I have to do? But of course, as I've tried to explain, it doesn't work like that. But it is important that everyone has an opportunity to have their say. To come back to the question, from the start to the finish, 6 months is quick. 12 to 18 months is quite common. It can be even more than that. Sometimes someone will come, will approach us to ask, and so that they can discuss. They'll go away and consider that, and they'll come back. And that, of course, means that time elapses. There's no specific time. We're more than happy to work to the time frame of the company or the owner. Thank you, Mike. I don't think there are any other questions, so just a quick note before we close, just to remind you that we are here as a Gwynedd Business Support Team to assist you with anything we can do to help you. If you feel that you would benefit from a similar session to one this morning regarding another subject, we are happy to arrange that, and we're very happy to help you in other ways as well. So please contact us. So that's it, I think. As I said, we will distribute the slides. If you've learned enough this morning and if you want to hear more, contact Mike directly or book a slot to see him in Bala as one of the as the drop-in session. So with that, thank you all, and I hope to see you in another session in the future. Thank you.